There exists a little-known fact regarding the golden age of Hollywood. It featured some of the most challenging stars in history, including renowned figures such as Henry Fonda, Kirk Douglas, and Errol Flynn. While they are adored by numerous fans within the industry, they are also recognized as difficult personalities to collaborate with. Additionally, there are several other stars infamous for their notorious behavior. Who might they be? Let us view this video until the conclusion. Henry Fonda. Henry Fonda frequently portrayed characters embodying principles such as justice, honesty, and morality. However, beneath the virtuous facade he maintained on screen was a more intricate personal life characterized by emotional detachment, infidelity, and troubled family dynamics. These stark contrasts between his public persona and private life provide a profound insight into the complexities of his existence and legacy. Fonda's relationships with his children, Jane and Peter, particularly highlight his difficulty in forming emotional connections with those closest to him. While he portrayed compassionate and principled figures in films, his actual parenting style was often marked by distance and rigidity. In her autobiography, My Life So Far, Jane Fonda described her father as emotionally unavailable, a man who, although physically present, was distant in every other regard. She reflected on his inability to show affection or vulnerability, which created a void in their relationship that she spent much of her life attempting to fill. Fonda's emotional detachment was deeply influenced by his upbringing and the societal norms of his era. Born in 1905 in Grand Island, Nebraska, he was raised in a strict, conservative household where emotional expression was discouraged. This stoicism persisted into his adult life, affecting not only his relationships with his children but also his romantic partnerships. Fonda was married 5 times, with each marriage facing its own challenges, including his struggles with fidelity and emotional intimacy. His first marriage to Margaret Sullivan ended in divorce after just 2 years, setting the tone for his subsequent relationships. Fonda's second marriage to socialite Frances Ford Seymour, although longer in duration, was equally tumultuous. The couple had 2 children, Jane and Peter, and outwardly seemed to maintain a stable family life. However, the reality was much more intricate. Fonda's frequent work-related absences, coupled with his emotional detachment and infidelity, placed considerable strain on their marriage. Frances, who battled mental health challenges, tragically took her own life in 1950, leaving Jane and Peter in profound grief. This loss deeply impacted the Fonda children and further complicated their relationship with their father, who seldom discussed the tragedy or provided them with emotional support during their mourning. Both Jane and Peter pursued acting careers, following in their father's footsteps, yet their journeys were significantly shaped by their complex relationship with him. Jane, in particular, has openly shared how her father's emotional unavailability influenced her self-perception and career decisions. She expressed a persistent desire for his approval and affection, which motivated her to succeed but also left her with enduring feelings of inadequacy. Similarly, Peter faced challenges in his relationship with his father, struggling with feelings of neglect and abandonment that he later expressed through his performances. Fonda's infidelity further complicated his personal life. His extramarital affairs were well known in Hollywood and adversely affected his marriages. His third wife, Susan Blanchard, who was 21 years his junior, later described their marriage as profoundly troubled due to Fonda's inability to fully engage emotionally. His relationships often followed a pattern of intense initial passion, followed by emotional withdrawal, leaving his partners feeling isolated and unsupported. Kirk Douglas. Kirk Douglas, a legendary figure in Hollywood, is remembered for both his significant accomplishments and the troubling allegations that have emerged regarding his conduct. Following his death, reports surfaced accusing him of mistreating Natalie Wood, who was just 15 years old at the time. It is alleged that Wood was invited to Douglas's hotel room, where she reportedly spent several hours before being dismissed with a warning to keep silent. Although this account has circulated widely, it has never been verified. The allegations gained momentum after Douglas's passing, as discussions about his life and legacy filled the media, and tributes to Wood began to appear on social media. While Douglas received accolades for his cinematic achievements, many criticized him, labeling him as a degenerate and predator. The truth remains elusive, as both Wood and Douglas have passed away, leaving a gap in first-hand accounts and making it improbable that the complete narrative will ever be revealed. These allegations have cast a shadow over Douglas's illustrious career, prompting questions about the personal conduct of a man who was otherwise celebrated for his contributions to the film industry. Douglas himself was familiar with controversy and acknowledged his flaws during his lifetime, once referring to himself as possibly the most unpopular actor in Hollywood. He partially attributed his challenges to a tumultuous upbringing, having been born Izar Danovich in 1916 to impoverished Russian Jewish immigrants. Douglas faced significant hardships while trying to establish himself in a competitive and often harsh industry. His difficult personality was well known, with co-star Burt Lancaster famously commenting on Douglas's challenging nature. Professionally, Douglas's strong-willed character often manifested as a controlling presence on film sets, where he was unreserved in asserting his authority, sometimes at the cost of collaboration. For example, during the making of Spartacus, he dismissed the original director after just 1 week and played a crucial role in bringing Stanley Kubrick onto the project. Despite Kubrick's reputation for his own exacting standards, Douglas reportedly attempted to micromanage various aspects of the production, which led to tensions between them. Similarly, on Paths of Glory, Douglas's dominant personality conflicted with Kubrick's vision, although the film ultimately emerged as a masterpiece. Faye Dunaway. Faye Dunaway's career was characterized by her relentless ambition and a steadfast desire to excel. However, her demeanor and conduct often led to conflicts with those around her. This challenging reputation reached its peak during her Broadway tenure in the play, Tea at 5, which depicted the life of Katharine Hepburn. Reports from that period indicated that her exit from the production was sudden and fraught with drama. She departed the show mid-run, and allegations soon emerged suggesting that Dunaway's conduct contributed to a hostile and tense atmosphere on set. The production was reportedly beset by disputes involving Dunaway's colleagues, implying that her unpredictable behavior and volatile temperament were significant contributors to the turmoil surrounding the show. There were also allegations of physical confrontations, although the specifics were never fully substantiated, leaving much to conjecture. Furthermore, it was not solely her theatrical performances that attracted negative attention. Her erratic behavior on film sets frequently became the subject of speculation, overshadowing her professional achievements. During the production of Chinatown, one of the most esteemed films in American cinema, actress Faye Dunaway's behavior was reported to be erratic and troubling. Accounts indicate that she engaged in bizarre actions, such as urinating in trash cans on set. This peculiar conduct, coupled with her fluctuating moods, contributed to the perception of her as an unpredictable and challenging actress, even in professional environments. Although Dunaway denied these allegations, they became widely circulated and formed part of her legacy. One particularly notorious incident involved Dunaway allegedly throwing a cup of liquid at director Roman Polanski, which has since become a notable anecdote in the film's history, symbolizing the tension between her and her directors. Polanski, known for his strong personality, was reportedly surprised by the incident. Despite Dunaway's claims that these events were exaggerated, they did little to alter the prevailing view of her as a difficult collaborator. The friction between her and Polanski reportedly fostered a toxic atmosphere on set, further overshadowing her considerable talents with her unpredictable behavior. Errol Flynn. Errol Flynn's existence was characterized by an unrelenting quest for thrill, often challenging societal norms regarding acceptable conduct. His off-screen escapades featured prominent affairs, extravagant parties, and a blatant disregard for the more conventional and reserved persona that many contemporaries sought to maintain. Flynn's notoriety was largely founded on this image of a charming and reckless adventurer who lived life according to his own rules. His charisma, striking appearance, and readiness to embrace a hedonistic lifestyle made him a favorite among tabloids and one of Hollywood's most discussed personalities. However, this lifestyle also resulted in several incidents that would indelibly affect his reputation. A pivotal moment in Flynn's life transpired in 1942, involving a legal case that would have enduring consequences for both his career and public perception. That year, he faced a highly publicized trial after being accused of statutory rape by two young women, Betty Hansen and Barbara Ann, infamously referred to as the Two Girls. The media sensationalized the allegations, portraying Flynn as a man of dubious morals who exploited his fame to manipulate young women. The trial captivated Hollywood and the nation, leading many of Flynn's admirers to turn against him as the case garnered extensive media coverage. Flynn staunchly denied the accusations, asserting that his relationships with the women were consensual and that he was the target of a smear campaign. The trial unfolded as a spectacle rife with scandalous details and provocative headlines, but ultimately, Flynn was exonerated of all charges due to a lack of sufficient evidence to substantiate the claims against him. His legal triumph signified the conclusion of the case from a legal standpoint. However, the harm to his reputation had already been inflicted. Despite his acquittal, the scandal would persist in the public's memory, casting a long shadow over his career for many years. Although his popularity remained largely intact among his dedicated fan base, numerous individuals perceived the legal proceedings as indicative of his reckless conduct and dubious character. The scandal starkly contrasted with the heroic and virtuous roles Flynn portrayed on screen, highlighting the widening gap between the public's perception of the star and the more complex realities of his private life. Furthermore, Flynn's legal challenges underscored the tension between Hollywood's meticulously crafted images of its stars and the often sordid realities of their personal lives, which were frequently at odds with the narratives presented to the public. Bing Crosby. Despite his fame and success, Bing Crosby's relationships, particularly with his children, were fraught with tension, emotional detachment, and personal challenges that would tarnish his legacy for some. His marriage to actress and singer Dixie Lee in 1930 was initially perceived as an ideal partnership, resulting in 4 sons. However, over time, the fissures in their relationship became apparent. Dixie Lee, who had her own career prior to marrying Crosby, faced significant mental health issues and struggled with alcoholism, which profoundly impacted the family dynamic. Her deteriorating health further strained their relationship. Known for his stoic and reserved demeanor, Crosby often kept his personal life under wraps, yet it was clear that his wife's difficulties were taking a toll on him. Lee's battle with alcoholism intensified over the years, culminating in her death in 1952, which left Crosby to navigate single parenthood. This phase of his life unveiled some of the more troubling facets of Crosby's character that would later emerge. The tension within Crosby's family was compounded by his complex relationship with his children. His eldest son, Gary, would later recount troubling experiences from their upbringing. In his 1983 autobiography, Going My Own Way, Gary Crosby depicted a stark portrayal of life under his father's roof, characterizing Bing Crosby as emotionally distant and authoritarian, rarely showing affection or warmth. Gary described his father's parenting style as cold and controlling, emphasizing discipline and performance over emotional support. This emotional chasm between father and son widened as Gary transitioned into adulthood, ultimately contributing to his own struggles with substance abuse and a strained relationship with his father.